everyone, and welcome back to the Water Online Show. I am your host, Travis Kennedy, publisher here at Water Online, the leading online destination for the water and wastewater market. As we did a lot of these episodes in the past month, and as we've done them, if I could use proper English here, as we've done them over the past month, there's a couple of thoughts and ideals that have come to mind that I wanted to bring up right off the bat before we dive into this week's episode. And that relates to utilities and digital transformation specifically. So there's a lot of events coming up in the near future that have sections of their curriculum and their presentations that deal specifically with digital transformation, whether that's the SWAN Forum or parts of ACE coming up. And what I realized through multiple conversations with utilities, users of Water Online, readers of Water Online, viewers of Water Online, is that utilities don't really have a technology problem. They have an economics problem. So from a utility standpoint, every dollar spent has to justify itself against aging infrastructure, regulatory pressure, and rising customer expectations. We all know that those three factors certainly exist in mass. So where do smart water valves actually fit into the equation? And that's what we're going to be talking about today, smart water valves. Specifically in this episode, we are cutting through the hype and getting straight to the numbers. We want to talk numbers. What does it really cost to modernize valve infrastructure? Where does the ROI show up first? Reduced non-revenue water or fewer truck rolls or faster response times, whatever it is. And how should utilities be thinking about payback periods in an era where capital is tight, but let's face it, risk is rising? We'll explore how smart valves are shifting from, hey, nice to have pilot projects to core operational assets, and why the most forward-thinking utilities are treating them not just as hardware purchases, but as financial levers. If you're responsible for budgets, performance, and long-term planning, this conversation will challenge how you think about value and where your next dollar should go. So without further ado, I want to introduce a man that needs no introduction. He is an industry icon. He is the Senior Director of Global Utility with Geospace, is none other than Mr. Bobby Barker. Bobby, welcome to the Water Online Show.
Thanks, Travis. I appreciate it. I'm glad to be here.
Well, we have a lot to talk about, so let's go ahead and dive in. The first thing I wanted to get a handle on here for our listeners and for our viewers is it relates to range of applications. So what are the range of applications where smart meter valves could actually be applied?
What a great lead in to what smart water valves can do for a utility. And most folks just think that at the end of the day, a smart valve can help them with just the manual process of reconnection or disconnection and reconnection of a water service for non-payment.
Right.
While that's a great use case, because you talked about the operational efficiency, the money that utilities are strapped with, that process alone can pay for itself by eliminating the truck rolls, the safety aspect, all the time associated with being, going and doing this manual process. You can take a smart valve and automate that process into a more streamlined process of disconnection and reconnection and eliminating those truck rolls and saving all that time and keeping your employees out of harm's way. And at the end of the day, enhance your customer service because you allow faster response time of getting the water back on. But a smart valve is so much more than just disconnect, reconnect. Think about disaster preparedness and the response perspective of that.
Huge
critical infrastructure resilience.
Mm-hmm.
In events such as hurricanes, floods, wildfires, freezing conditions. Think about some of the things that have happened in various states over the last few years, like Texas and Mississippi with hard freezes, Florida with hurricanes, Northern California with wildfires. Think about how a smart valve could zone off an area in a distribution network and isolate that area to support faster recovery, being able to manage contamination risk, prevent system damage. Because if you had a valve that could remotely be turned off and control those areas, you could enhance public safety, protect your infrastructure, and allow utilities to respond more effectively in an emergency situation such as any of those. And past that, water conservation, water restrictions. I mean, utilities in drought-stricken areas have to police when people can water their lawns, and they're having to send people around and see if people are actually watering their lawns. What if they had a smart valve that could be turned off and then turned on the day that it's time for them to water their lawns and not have to drive around and waste all this time and money with fuel and everything else with the rising cost? They could have a valve that could make their system more modern and allow them to meet regulatory requirements and environmental goals all through one smart valve. So at the end of the day, you got non-payment, you got disaster preparedness, you got water conservation, you got water restrictions. Smart valves are so much more, and they're a critical role in advanced infrastructure and smart water networks.
I mean, it really is a part of the smart water ecosystem that deserves more discussion, right? So you talk about disaster preparedness. I can think of no region in the United States specifically that, much less globally, that isn't affected by some kind of disaster. Needs to be in some kind of state of disaster preparedness, right? So,
Absolutely.
so that's one thing. The other thing too that I want to note based off of what you just stated, which is dead on accurate, is the fact that utilities, especially in North America, and again, I dare say globally, they like to save on two things. It's the subject matter that means the most to them, and that is save on time and money, right? Because Bobby, correct me if I'm wrong, but I have never come across an overfunded municipality. Have you?
Neither have I.
Okay. All right. All right. So it's not as if there's just money to spare, right? So it has to be pinpoint accurate on what you spend it on related to what your desired outcomes are.
Yes.
Which is the same thing with water conservation. I mean, think of the time, energy, and money it would save if you're able to do what you just talked about, which is shut off the valve, right? When you reach the limit, you shut off the valve. You don't have to drive around and police everything. So I mean, that in and of itself puts it at the forefront of smart water. What I do note as well is there are other smart valves capable of remote shutoff of the situation that you just covered, but you have only the modular valve. Can you explain what the added benefit of that is?
That is a great question. And you're right. While there are several other smart valves on the market that offers remote shutoff capabilities. What differentiates a modular valve is its flexibility and its adaptability over time.
What does that mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Modular designs allow valves to be upgraded, serviced, reconfigured without the need to replace the entire unit. For example, communication components such as cellular AMI endpoints that are modules inside of the smart valve may need to be updated as technology evolves, which helps utilities avoid costly full-scale replacements and extends the overall life cycle because certain components can be easily replaced without taking out the entire valve. Like on our modular, we call it our serviceable valve, which means that the actuator that sits on top of the brass ball valve can be easily replaced if a component fails or if it needs to be upgraded or if it needs to be, if it gets damaged by the homeowner, maybe they damage it somehow. So it can be replaced very easily, which reduces your downtime, your labor, and operational disruption in the field. And additionally, modular valves provide scalability. Utilities can start out slow with a base configuration and then add enhanced functionality as we come along with other advanced monitoring features in the future, because that can be just easily upgraded without having to replace an entire, unit that's more built in to particularly maybe a meter or something like that. And so overall, the added benefit of a modular valve is that it delivers a long-term cost efficiency, operational flexibility, and future proofing, because your traditional fixed valves they can't support that because you've got to replace the entire unit as opposed to being a more serviceable, modular, flexible type of solution.
So it's flexible. We get that part, which is important in this day and age to be flexible. And it's really having a solution that is flexible is sort of the backbone of the smart water movement. The whole smart water movement relies upon a lot of foundation, a lot of different pieces of foundation, but one of them is being flexible. But the main point there is it's financially responsible, right? It's being that flexible. It's going to help a utility save money over time. Which goes back to our point that we made before we got into that question and answer, which was we've never come across an overfunded utility. So any type of system or any type of product or solution that's going to enable them being the utility, to be able to save money and time, but more specifically money, is upside. It's all upside from there. I know that we here at Water Online work with all of the market leaders specifically within the metering vertical. So you can name all the market leaders and who they are. I certainly won't at this point in time. But all of them have certain benefits, right? And certain capabilities and certain areas of which they excel. Are your valves agnostic to the meter type?
What another great question. And you're right. There are many water meter manufacturers out there. And you know what? On top of that, we recognize that utilities operate or may operate with a mix of meter types.
That's so true.
Our communication systems. Mm-hmm. So one key advantage of our valve is that it's meter agnostic. It doesn't matter what meter or what communication system you may have deployed. Yeah. We've engineered our valves to integrate with every meter manufacturer out there. It can be attached directly onto it. It can operate seamlessly alongside existing communication systems, yep. Or we have valves that allow them to be controlled by particular AMI systems as well, so that further integrates into the existing infrastructure that you have. And we like to, rather being tied to a single meter manufacturer, we focus on ensuring compatibility at the system level so utilities can deploy a solution without needing to overhaul their existing meter infrastructure. Doesn't require them to change a meter out per mm-hmm. se. They can just drop our valves right in alongside it. So this flexibility allows utilities to standardize on a valve solution while continuing to use their preferred or existing meters. It also enhances and supports a phased deployment and reduces upfront capital costs. Again, we've not found any utility that's cash, a lot of cash.
Yeah.
So that requires
not a lot of flush with cash municipalities out there.
Right. So, one last point. Sorry.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
So ultimately being meter agnostic gives utilities the freedom, that simplifies integration, and helps future-proof their investment as their technology ecosystem evolves, basically.
And for those of you out there listening or watching, I will say that I've been to over the many years that I've been in this industry, I've been to a number of events. And there's one event that I've been to that's water-focused, where there's digital water being discussed, and the metering companies are all there, well represented, where Bobby hasn't been associated with all of them. They all really respect and think a lot of the technology that you and your company bring to the table related to their metering systems. So held in very high regard by universally every metering company that I've been in contact with. So that says something not just about the adaptability that you have with different metering types, but also the respect of how well the solution actually works in conjunction. So it's flexibility and it's reliability that I think that there's a lot of respect out there for what it is that you do and how you do it. But with that being said, I want to talk money. Are you ready to talk money?
That is my favorite question.
Excellent. All right. So I haven't asked it yet. So you may be able to. I may stump you here, but I don't think I am. Let's talk ROI. What is the return on investment for implementing smart water valves in a utility? This is the
Yeah.
punchline. What do we got?
Yeah. Yeah, this is my favorite question because at the end of the day, this is what it's all about with a smart valve. What can it save you
Mm-hmm.
and what can it do for you? But at the end of the day, what's going to be the payback of implementing a smart valve, right?
Yes, sir.
And it's a combination of things. It's the cost savings associated with the truck rolls and the time and all of that, the operational efficiency, and the long-term system improvements.
Hmm.
One of the most immediate impacts come from the reduction of the truck rolls, obviously, by eliminating those.
Yeah.
And, the lower labor, the fuel, the vehicle expenses, all of that is very costly in a manual remote or manual disconnection of service connections.
Mm-hmm.
But in addition to that, the water conservation, it's hard to put, a value on the water conservation. But at the end of the day, everything that you do with a smart valve has an implication on a cost savings because you're not having to roll trucks to monitor, when they're watering lawns. You're not having to roll trucks to disconnect people for non-payment.
Yep.
And we have utilities, and all utilities are different. Some are very compact, some are very spread out in their service area. The more spread out you are, the quicker your payback's going to be because the less drive time you're going to have. We have some utilities that drive sometimes 1 hour one way to disconnect water service.
That's
Think about that.
Wow. That's
What do you think
spread
that
out.
cost?
Right, exactly. It seems like a
100?
hidden cost, but it's not that hidden when you talk about going an hour each way.
Yeah, we feel like truck rolls are probably somewhere in the neighborhood of $100 to $150 per truck roll, probably.
Okay. Well, there you go.
And if you think about a disconnect, well, that's just one truck roll.
Right.
You also have to roll the truck back to reconnect the service after the customer, pays their bill or whatever the case may be. Well, now you're at $200 to $300, depending on the cost.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. So basically, the return on investment for a utility deploying smart valves is typically 2 to 3 months.
Okay.
Because what you're doing is you're deploying these valves, maybe not 100% across the board. Would I love for a utility to do 100%? Absolutely.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you probably don't need it on every service connection necessarily. You deploy where you do need it. So if you have, 500 or so valves deployed, your return on investment is going to be about 2 to 3 months, as opposed to, 3 or 4 years, because you're just eliminating truck rolls. And it's really cut right into the line. And, at the end of the day, this is what it's all about. How can smart valves improve your efficiencies to get you lower your cost and improve your operational efficiencies?
Yeah, in this industry, we talk a lot about life cycle cost, right? And then that life cycle cost usually gets stretched out over 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, whatever the case is. We're talking years. What you're talking about is what I would say in this industry could be synonymous with immediate. Like when we're talking 3 months, that's a nothing burger in terms of time as relates to life cycle costs. So that's all really good information and to the point. There's no fluff around it. These are the facts. These are the numbers. This is the simplicity of how you can calculate what your ROI is actually going to be.
Yeah.
I will say that for all of our viewers out there, our listeners out there, the user base that we reach, the professionals that we reach each and every day. I'm curious if you could help us slow down for a second and look at the most logical first next step, which is where we like to sort of end all of these conversations related to something that is going to be very beneficial to them. So for our listeners or viewers out there, well, the Water Online audience as a whole, in the industry as a whole, if they're interested in learning more about how they can actually save money, save time, become more flexible related to their plan to migrate to smart water, which every municipality in North America and globally is taking steps to, what would be the first most logical next step?
Yeah, first next step is, there's multiple ways to do this. One would be to go directly to Geospace's website. We have a contact form there where you can submit a form. It'll come directly into myself.
What does that form ask for, Bobby? I'm curious.
Say again. Oh,
what does that form ask for? Yeah.
So it asks for obviously a utility name. What does your project look like? So what are you looking to do with a smart valve? And then what products you're obviously interested in? Because as I said earlier, we do have multiple different valve products.
Yeah.
But go there. We also have many articles on Water Online, which is a great source of learning more about what we have to do from the smart valve arena. But yeah, go to our website, submit a contact form, and we'll take it from there.
How long do you think it'll take to fill out that form? 30 seconds, a minute and a half, 5 minutes?
1 minute at the most.
There you go.
It's right. 3 or 4 questions.
That's all Geospace needs to help you save money is 1 minute of your time. I don't think that's a lot to ask. Bobby Barker, we certainly appreciate you spending time here with us. As I said in the beginning, you really need no introduction. You are really well known in the industry, in the marketplace. And at this point in time, so is Geospace. So what you're doing there, what the company is doing, the way you're helping municipalities globally save money on just in the normal day-to-day process and practices is phenomenal. Thank you for spending the time here with us, and we can't wait to have you back very, very soon.
No, I appreciate the time, and it's been very, very fun and entertaining, and I hope that the message will help some utilities be able to save some time and cost.
That's why we're here, and I guarantee your messaging today will do just that. And for all of you out there, thank you for spending your time here with us at the Water Online Show, and we can't wait to see you back here next time.